To my fellow Vancouver Canucks fans, my name's Adam Foote, head coach of the Vancouver Canucks, and I'd like to say Quinn Hughes is going to be with us forever. And that's the bottom line because Adam Foote said so. Enjoy the episode of Locked On Canucks.
The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Kyle, this just in. We might have the greatest coach in Vancouver Canucks history. He hasn't even coached a game yet. But man, oh man, this guy's on a mission to save the Vancouver Canucks. I'm Trevor Beggs. I'm the co-host of Locked On Canucks alongside my co-host and more importantly, my brother, Kyle Bhawan. I got to let you know today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Go download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. And Kyle, man, oh man, I'm hitting the round of applause for Adam Foote right now, man. My foot fetish is really growing right now because of Adam Foote. And look, I think you and I both had our hesitation about Adam Foote when he was hired by the Vancouver Canucks, a rookie head coach in a pressure-packed situation with Quinn Hughes potentially leaving the franchise. But it sounds like we might have the guy for the job. You know, Quinn Hughes calling Adam Foote the best coach he's ever had. Foote comes into training camp, you know, guys were skating hard, playing aggressive. And then here we got Adam Foote saying that Quinn Hughes, he ain't leaving the Vancouver Canucks.
Dude, that's something else. That's bravado, that's confidence. And yeah, we touched on this a little bit in yesterday's episode towards the end of the episode. But man, oh man, like, it's interesting, Trevor, because, you know, you're part of the media, you're a big J journo, and I feel as if not a lot of people picked up what Adam Foote did say with Ray Ferraro and Darren Drager, you know, talking about how he believes Quinn Hughes is going to stay. And yeah, he did, you know, dance around it being, you know, for another 2 years, but he also touched on, he's going to be a Canuck. And that energy gave me, he's going to be a Canuck for a long time. He has confidence. And, you know, whether he knows that being the truth or not, the fact that Quinn Hughes' favorite coach is saying that is A, beautiful, and B, the fact that Adam Foote can read the room, read the market, is already in touch with the fan base and knows that heading into the season, something like that could calm us all down is intelligent. It's brilliant, to be honest. It's kind of on the same lines of what Rutherford said regarding Hughes and Luke and Jack and Quinn, how they all want to play together, but on the other end of the spectrum where it's like the vote of confidence that we kind of need. And again, Trevor, I can't preface this enough. If I'm a fan, even if you don't believe it, I love when the people I cheer for feed me with delusion. You know what I'm saying? Like positive delusion. And for Adam Foote to say that, like the safer route would have been like, it's up to Quinn, right? We'll see what happens. It's up to Quinn. It's up to Quinn. But for him to say what he said, and maybe you have the quote right in front of you, it's dope. It's cool. It's confident. It's Team Canuck first, and I love that. Thank you, Adam Foote, man.
Yeah, like I said, if Canuck fans don't already have a foot fetish, they should have a foot fetish after Foote's comments yesterday, man. I'm putting the feet on camera later in this episode, man. Boom, bam, let's go. The quotes from Adam Foote, man. Here's what he said in case you missed it about Quinn Hughes staying in Vancouver. And he said, quote, "When we met with Pettersson and Demko, Quinn and I spent a good couple hours alone. Ooh. And it was a real good talk about where he may be now or later. And he says, for me, I honestly think he's going to be a Canuck. I think it's all blown up. There's a lot of noise, but unnecessary noise." And then I think he ends this, and this is the quote. Oh my God, I love this one right here. He says, "I see him here now. I see him here for these 2 years, and I see him here in the future." Man, oh man, let's go. Quinn Hughes, staying with your Vancouver Canucks. Jack who? Luke Hughes? It doesn't matter, man, because Adam Foote, he's the daddy of the Vancouver Canucks.
Ooh-wee. It just setting the tone, man. Again, just lie to me. Yeah, remember that song by George Nazuka? Lie to me, baby. Lie to me, baby. Like sometimes, how about that one song, that R&B song about like getting cheated on? But I don't want to know if you're playing me. Keep it on the low. Just like, dude, I don't want to know if Quinn Hughes is leaving. Tell me that Quinn Hughes is staying, even if you don't know. And again, as a fan, when I heard that, not only did my hope get longer for Quinn Hughes staying and get bigger and hopeful and girthier. I mean, just bigger in general. But my love for Adam Foote just began. It just began for real. Because again, not to throw Petey under the bus again, but like, remember when Petey was being asked about JT Miller and all that stuff, and maybe it was more personal, so he can get more emotional about it. But he just like walks away from the cameras, looks distraught, looks defeated. That sets the tone for the season. That tells the fan that this room does not have it together. You know what I'm saying? Whereas Adam Foote, I mean, again, he could be annoyed of the questions, right? It's his first year as a head coach. Let's just talk about, what the structure and the hockey. And you're asking me about Quinn Hughes' contract situation. Like, I'd be a little annoyed at that. But again, Adam Foote doubles down on, it's blown out of proportion. The media's taking it out to lunch, and Quinn Hughes is staying. Canucks fans, that means something. And Trevor, you said it off the top. This is Quinn Hughes' favorite coach saying this. And Quinn Hughes didn't say Rick Tockett's his favorite coach ever. Now, he did like Rick Tocchet. Let's not hate on Tocchet that much, but for Quinn's favorite coach to say that, it seems as if they have a close bond, and that matters. That matters. And Quinn Hughes' best 2 seasons, yeah, they've been with Filip, and yeah, they were with Rick Tocchet being the head coach, but Quinn Hughes gets coached more by Adam Foote, more so than Rick Tocchet or Quinn Tocchet. Like, I think Quinn Hughes, and maybe Adam Foote and him have talked about this. They know they have something special with that decor. And for Quinn Hughes to know Hall of Fame defenseman Adam Foote is that guy, you know what I'm saying? Leading the charge defensively for this club. Like, again, I keep bringing up the New Jersey Devils. I think there might be an operation here that we don't know about that they're stewing up, and that involves just orchestrating the greatest decor in hockey.
Yeah, I mean, and Adam Foote has certainly helped with that over the past couple of seasons. But Kyle, I think you hit the nail on the head. Adam Foote saying these things about Quinn Hughes wouldn't be as believable if Quinn Hughes hadn't come out and said back in February, unprompted, that Adam Foote is the best coach he's ever had. Right? These two clearly have a relationship, and the everydayers who have been with us for a while, they know. I was saying this back before Foote got hired, that I thought Adam Foote was going to be the guy because he got the Quinn Hughes cosign, right? This is the most important player currently in the franchise, one of the most important players to ever wear a Canucks sweater. And this guy's going on the record talking about how his assistant coach is the best coach he's ever had. And look, now he's the head coach. And again, it's believable, I think, because of the Quinn Hughes cosign. And, Rutherford said it, Quinn Hughes has said it, lots can happen. If the Canucks suck next season, what Foote's saying right now doesn't really matter, right? And again, if the Canucks suck and the Devils are good, it's more likely than not that Quinn's gone. But if the Canucks are good and Quinn Hughes is buying into what Adam Foote is selling, and if they're good, why wouldn't he be? Then yeah, there's probably a great chance that he's staying with the Vancouver Canucks.
And Trevor, what if Tom Willander's really good this year? What if Valentino Martini III is good this year? What if Elias Pettersson takes the next step? Quinn Hughes is staying. And Trevor, you kind of inspired me, okay? Not to play devil's advocate, but man, oh man, what if the Canucks are good and New Jersey sucks? Then it's easy. It's guaranteed. Guaranteed. Quinn Hughes is staying for a minimum, 3 to 4 extra years. Again, I've made bed with that. I'm going to sleep with that. I've made love to that. If it's not an 8-year extension, I'm cool with that. Just give us 3 more years. Play with us till you're 29, 30 years old. I'll take that to the bank. That keeps our window open. And man, oh man, going back to Adam Foote's comments, I think they know something. I think they had talks, and Quinn Hughes is a smart guy. Again, he's a prideful captain, hockey nerd. He knows how big of a deal it is to be a captain of a Canadian market. There's only a few Canadian teams in this whole damn league. Vancouver doesn't have a cup. Boom, bam. He probably, I'm assuming, him and Adam Foote got together and they're like, yo, if we're good this year and our decor is amongst the best in hockey, straight up, and close your eyes, Canucks fans, it's Quinn Hughes, Filip, Marcus Pettersson, and Mancini's looking really good. He is. That's crazy, right? And yeah. I heard Rick Dhaliwal talk about how the Rangers. It took longer for the Canucks and the Rangers to finalize this trade involving Mancini, Chytil, and a first-round pick for JT Miller because the Rangers didn't want to give up Mancini. So again, there's a good chance that Mancini is really good. And then we didn't even bring up DPD, Tom Molander, Tyler Myers. Like, I think Quinn Hughes and Adam Foote are on the same page. If this actually works out this year and we can prove to the hockey world that, you know, like we can win games and win games in the playoffs. Because Trevor, like, look at the names I mentioned. Outside of Quinn Hughes, everyone's big. Like everyone's strong. I know it's not Nikita Zadorov, but there's grit, there's girth there. There's like playoff echelon there. It kind of reminds me of like what Vegas built a couple years ago. It's a little bit different than what Florida has right now, but again, we have Quinn Hughes, and behind him are all those guys, like literal trunks. And Filip is no slouch too. Like I know he's shorter than Marcus Pettersson and whatnot, but he's got that grit to his game. He's got that toughness. He's got that SOB attitude. There's a recipe there with Demko and Lankinen for this team to like again be the New Jersey Devils of 2025. And you know who who was up against New Jersey? I know. I think that he might have lost. Did they lose to New Jersey or did they beat New Jersey? Colorado, right? Colorado, New Jersey, early 2000s Stanley Cup Finals. Boom, bam. You know what I'm saying, Trevor? Like, there's just something going on here. Adam Foote's comments. There's just something. There's a connection there with Quinn Hughes, and Adam Foote didn't just say what he said just for the sake of saying it. I think there's a small chance that A, was because he wanted to, pat the fans on the back and give them some hope, but B, he knows something that we don't know, and that's Quinn Hughes is sticking around if things go out well.
100%, man. I mean, you and I, or nor anyone listening to this podcast, has had a couple hours alone sipping a brewski with Quinn Hughes, and I like the point you brought up about Mancini too. I mean, Kyle, would you rather be drinking a Bud Light or would you rather be sipping on a Valentino Martini? Exactly, man. That's what you'd rather.
I'm gonna sip on a Valentino Martini tonight, man. I'm going out with the girlfriend, Trevor. Actually, I'm probably gonna ditch you right now, to be honest, because time's a ticking. I gotta pick up my girl. We got hotel. I'm 32 and a half years old. Moved back with my parents. Got the hotel for the night. Do the math. We're watching preseason hockey, baby, all night.
There you go. Oh man, make it level watching the Vancouver Canucks. Nothing better, man.
Wee.
Oh, Kyle, there you go, man. You love making machine you. That's all right, man. You take off. One love to your girl. Coming up on the other side here on Locked On Canucks. Lots to get to, including Hoglander's replacements. We now know more about the Nils Hoglander injury. I want to get to as well. Kyle made some comments about the defense. Adam Foote did reveal somewhat of a plan for the Canucks defense potentially here in the regular season. We'll also talk about the preseason game tonight. That's all coming up on the other side here on Locked On Canucks. All right, before we get back to the program, let's shout out our friends over at FanDuel. And another point for Beggsy, baby. What did I say? And I'm a little biased sometimes, but my Seattle Seahawks -1.5 point favorites last night over the Arizona Cardinals. And man, oh man, it took until the last minute, but they got it done, covering the spread, winning the game. On a FanDuel, you can also bet on the NHL, of course. And the Canucks over/under for points this season, 89.5 points. FanDuel, what's going on? I was on the Locked On NHL show yesterday. That's dropping soon. And I told the people that I'm smashing the over for the Canucks, getting more than 89 points this season. Whatever you're betting on, whether it's NFL, whether it's NHL, make sure you go check it out on FanDuel, because right now, again, new customers can bet $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. All right, I'm back here on Locked On Canucks. Your Canucks every day, and it's Friday. We're feeling good. Adam Hughes, look at that, man. That's the chemistry between those two right there. Adam Foote confirming Quinn Hughes is staying as a Vancouver Canuck forever, as long as they win. But they're going to win, baby, because we're feeling good, and it's September. Okay, a couple things to get to here. Some news and notes to get to for your Vancouver Canucks, and let's stick with Adam Foote here for a second. So Adam Foote did mention on the Ray and Dregs podcast a potential plan for the Vancouver Canucks this season. Now, we've been talking a lot about Valentino Martini aka Victor Mancini, here on the podcast. Of course, he had a stellar preseason, wheeling and dealing up and down the ice, has a couple of goals in preseason action as well. He will not play in tonight's preseason game, getting a break for at least a night here. But clearly he's forcing his way onto this roster. Now, one of the things Foote said on the Ray and Dregs podcast is that they may look to condense Forbort and Myers minutes this season, or scale them back a bit, right? And he refers to the condensed schedule because of the big Olympic break in February of this year. Now, I found that interesting because if you're scaling back minutes for Forbort and Myers, could there be an opportunity for not just one of these guys like Mancini or DPD or even Tom Hoglander? Could we see a bit of a rotation with the Vancouver Canucks this season? Adam Foote alluded to the fact that this may be the case. Now, I think, again, Derek Forbort hasn't been a lineup regular, right? Dealt with injuries, he's kind of been in that 50 to 60 games per season realm. Tyler Myers, that one was a bit of an interesting comment because this guy was really a top 4 mainstay last year for the Vancouver Canucks. But remember in 23-24, the Canucks did purposely scale back his minutes, and that turned Tyler Myers into a better player. So I think that's something for Canuck fans to watch for this season. Will some of the young defensemen, whether it's Mancini, DPD, or Hoglander, will they rotate into the lineup and take some minutes away from Forbort and Myers? Again, they have to earn the opportunity. And Adam Foote said, if one of these guys truly steps up and deserves to play all the time, he's going to make sure that they do. But I think all of them have shown to certain extents, some NHL caliber qualities, with Tom Hoglander really looking like the guy who needs the most seasoning right now. But the other thing Foote mentioned, and this plays into all three of those guys, Hoglander and Mancini and DPD, playing some minutes for the Canucks this season, they're all different players. They all bring something different to the table. Of course, you have the size with DPD and Mancini, the girth, if you will. But Mancini's, of course, more of an offensively inclined player, right? With the skating up the ice, whereas DPD's more of your safe, stay-at-home defenseman. Gonna hit you and it's gonna hurt. And Tom Hoglander, of course, good positionally, great skating, but of course lacking maybe the physicality and puck skills of those other two guys. So again, something to watch for your Vancouver Canucks this season. And I'm curious what it looks like. I don't see Tyler Myers necessarily getting scratched just so two of those guys can play. But maybe it means that Tyler Myers plays lower down the lineup. Maybe a Victor Mancini does go into the top 4 this season for at least chunks of time. And I've said it before, shout out to the everydayers. They know this. But Victor Mancini, I think there could be something there with him and Marcus Pettersson on a second pairing if he continues to earn the opportunity to play higher up in the lineup. Of the players he played with last season, or his most common line mates, it was Marcus Pettersson, it was Quinn Hughes, and it was Derek Forbort. And statistically, by far, his best partner was Marcus Pettersson. And you could really see that pair working because of how good Marcus Pettersson is defensively and how Mancini likes to jump up in the rush, get us all drunk on the Valentino martinis. And of course, DPD, again, looking like a lineup regular. And, right now, I think Tom Hoglander is not necessarily a bigger part of this equation. It does boil down to DPD and Mancini. You don't want either of these guys sitting in the press box for a long period of time. But it is a bit of a risk to play both those guys in the lineup together, right? Younger NHL players, don't know what you're getting as much. They can be insulated on this defense, but it's just not often that we see two. They're almost both rookies. I guess they both surpassed the 25-game mark last year, not Calder eligible, but two very young NHL players on defense in the same lineup at the same time. That is a bit of a rare occurrence. But those two guys can make it happen, and the fact that Foote maybe looking to scale back their minutes may mean that we might be seeing more of DPD and Valentino Martini in the lineup for your Vancouver Canucks. All right, one more piece of news to pass along, and it's the curse of Beggsy, baby. I can't believe I did this, man. For those of you who missed the show yesterday, I talked about the curse of myself here. my first season as a full-time reporter for this team for Daily Hive. I had the one-on-one with Nils Hoglander at training camp, and yeah, now he's hurt. And we now learned today that it is a sprained ankle. Not a surprise considering we saw this guy limping around, I should say, in a walking boot in Abbotsford on Wednesday night. We now learned it's a sprained ankle and it's week to week, which is hockey jargon for he's probably going to miss at least a few weeks here. And that is a blow for the Vancouver Canucks, considering this team was bottom 10 in scoring goals last season, considering they were 31st overall in terms of shots on net last season. But in terms of guys who could step up, because it creates an opportunity for other guys, of course, the boring answer is Drew O'Connor. A guy who I kind of forgot was even at Canucks training camp until they played in the scrimmage. And I'm going to the guys in the booth. I'm like, where the hell is this guy? Drew O'Connell, Kevin O'Connelly. I forgot about Drew Connor at training camp, to be honest. But the Canucks like this guy. They extended him, 2 years, $2.5 million a season. He played higher up in the lineup last season, looked good in parts on a line with Filip and Brock Besser. He's a left winger, and if you're looking at the depth chart right now, it's going Jake DeBrusk, Evander Kane, and then Drew O'Connor. So certainly not the sexiest name. No offense to Kevin O'Connelly there, but he is the next guy up on the depth chart, and honestly looked good in the preseason game against the Kraken. Right, showcased some speed. He's great on the forecheck. But let's get to some of the other maybe spicier players who have a chance to play up the lineup with Nils Hoglander out. And I got to shout the Surrey boy first, man. Archdeep Baines, okay? I thought he had a great training camp. Looked fantastic in the scrimmage. I thought he looked really good in the game against Calgary on Wednesday night. But his game against the Kraken was not so good. And that was a night where Drew O'Connor played and looked better than Archdeep Baines. Jonathan Lekkerimäki. I know he often plays on the right side, but the best option for Jonathan Lekkerimäki right now is probably to show that he's capable to play 10 to 12 minutes a night. But the fact that Hoglander is usually a PP2 guy, maybe there's a path here for Lekkerimäki to slot into the opening night lineup and get some time playing with the PP. Well, what? Playing on the PP. And again, he's got the puck skills and the shot to do it. That's where he can probably shine the most. And we'll get to Lekkerimäki, but to wrap up the show on the other side, along with some of your comments. But that's certainly a guy to watch now that knows Hoglander is out of the lineup. And one of the last guys I'll shout out to, a bit more of a long shot, is Vitaly Kravtsov. Of course, with the depleted Canucks lineup, when Hoglander got injured on Wednesday, it was Vitaly Kravtsov who played higher up in the lineup. A guy who honestly was a little disappointing in training camp. Not that he was bad, but just not a guy that looked any different from the player we saw in 2023. Although I did think later on in that game on Wednesday, he played probably his best hockey of training camp and preseason. A couple nice defensive breakups, some good plays in the offensive zone. He's a long shot, but with Nils Hoglander now set to miss the start of the season, Vitaly Kravtsov, former top 10 pick, former KHL stud, this might be his time to shine. Speaking of time to shine, the Canucks play a preseason game tonight. Let's get into some notes around that, along with some of your comments here on Locked On Canucks. All right, we're back here on Locked On Canucks. Your Canucks every damn day. And the Canucks playing in the preseason tonight. Your boy Beggsy will be there at Rogers Arena ahead of the Canucks and the Kraken. And we got the lines tonight for preseason action. And the most interesting one by far is the second line of Evander Kane, Braeden Cootesy, and Jonathan Lekkerimäki. The other lines, you got DeBrusk, Elias Pettersson, and Brock Besser. They're all making their preseason debut tonight. Vitaly Kravtsov getting into the lineup alongside Teddy Bluger and Kiefer Sherwood. Potential third line for the Vancouver Canucks. And the fourth line of Vilmer Alriksson, the big boy, Atu Ratu, and Danila Klimovich. Defense pairs, we're going to get the first look at Hughes and Hronek, who just dummied people at training camp. Kudryavtsev and P.O. Joseph on the second pair. DPD and Tom Willander on the third pair. Lankinen, Tolopilo, Koskin, Vuo were the three goaltenders at practice. It'll likely be Lankinen and Tolopilo tonight, but potentially Koskin, Vuo could get some preseason action as well. But for Braeden Cootes, man, oh man, I mean, he's been the star of Canucks preseason so far. the fact that he's playing on a second line alongside Jonathan Lekkerimäki and Evander Kane, it does make you think more and more about, could this guy potentially make the opening night lineup? And of course, there's a lot of intriguing storylines tonight, but he is probably the number one guy to watch here. And of course, playing with a guy like Jonathan Lekkerimäki, who is still technically an NHL rookie, right? Only played 24 games last year, 1 game away from Calder Cup eligibility. So he could, Jonathan Lekkerimäki for the Calder. Hey, it's still possible. We'll see how they look with Evander Kane tonight, but I think that's the most intriguing note for your Vancouver Canucks. Of course, this is our first look at EP40 in preseason action. He looked good in training camp. Can he flash some of that superstar potential tonight, along with the line that the Canucks really want to try to make their first line this year with Jake DeBrusk and Brock Besser. On the third line, Vitaly Kravtsov, again, getting his opportunity. I mentioned it. Hopefully the Beggsy bump can work with Kravtsov, because it obviously did not work with Nils Hoglander. Another guy had a one-on-one with at training camp. And then on the fourth line there, Aatu Räty, a guy who potentially he's disappointed the Canucks coaching staff there. And this might be something I got to ask about tonight. Because, again, I mentioned at training camp, the guy always looks like he's working hard. He's great in the faceoff dot. He had some good moments on the PK on Wednesday. But the fact that is Braeden Cootes getting these plum opportunities and not Aatu Räty doesn't bode well for Aatu Räty. And I do think it is more about just Braeden Cootes being that damn good at training camp. But we were all talking about Aatu Räty potentially being a third-line center. Pumping this guy up, top former prospect. And the fact that he's playing with Ulriksson and Klimovich while Cootes is playing with Lekkerimäki and Evander Kane, I don't know if it bodes that well for Aatu Räty. I think one of the last things to note tonight as well is DPD playing with Tom Willander. The former World Juniors teammates for Sweden. Could they be a potential pair for the Vancouver Canucks here in the future? I'm not really going to this season. DPD and Mancini has a shot. DPD and Willander, maybe not so much, but it's really a sink or swim moment for the two youngsters. All right. Before we wrap up here on Locked On Canucks, we're not here without the people. So let's get to your comments. NGK, man. Come on, man. It's been a positive show. Why you got to say this? NGK saying in the comments in terms of Foote talking about Quinn Hughes staying in Vancouver. He's probably saying this because Foote has no future in himself without Quinn Hughes. NGK, man. Why you got to spit the truth like that? Yeah, if the Canucks have a bad season, there's going to be a lot of scapegoats, but Foote's going to be one of them. And if Quinn Hughes leaves his franchise, you don't have that Quinn Hughes coach anymore. You probably don't have Alvin and Rutherford anymore. And yeah, so NGK is bang on there despite the negativity. Speaking of negativity, that's honest, man. Oh man, Lefty saying if Drew O'Connor is our third line left winger, we're in trouble. Whew. Drew O'Connor, again, this is a guy that had 16 goals and 33 points at his peak in the NHL. Not an old guy yet by NHL standards, but he's not necessarily a bad third line left winger. I think ideally you want to have him on your fourth line. And I think that's why, even though the Canucks maybe don't have the superstar, like they are lacking superstar talent on the wings, the fact that they had Hoglander, Kane, and DeBrusk as their top three left wingers, and you could push a guy like Drew O'Connor down to that fourth line, I mean, that bodes well for the team. But of course, now with Hoglander out, Drew O'Connor, again, he's not the sexiest guy that's going to get the promotion, but he's the most obvious guy to move up the lineup now when the Canucks open up on opening night on October 9th. James Moore in the comments says, shout out to James Moore, man. Always nice to meet Locked On fans. I did meet James Moore and another Locked On listener in the parking lot. Appreciate all of you for tuning in. But James Moore, even better looking in person than he is in that photo there. James Moore saying in the comments, Tyson Barrie, who is now going to be a part of the Vancouver Canucks broadcast on Sportsnet. Tyson Barrie seems like a great guy. Glad to see that BC will be around the team lots in his new role. I always find it funny when these broadcasters like Tyson Barrie actually played with guys who are on the Canucks right now. And of course, Tyson Barrie played with Evander Kane with the Edmonton Oilers. So getting to see his former teammate here with the Vancouver Canucks. I mean, Tyson Barrie, he's given me some good stories to write about recently with down in a couple drinks and then going to play against the Vancouver Canucks in the playoffs. Of course, the story about him almost joining the Vancouver Canucks back in 2019. a crazy what-if scenario. What if the Canucks got Tyson Barrie instead of JT Miller? It probably would not have been the right move with Quinn Hughes in the fold, but man, oh man, Tyson Barrie seems like a beauty. Looking forward to seeing that guy around the rink. All right, I got to get out of here, okay? I appreciate all of you for listening to Locked On Canucks. Last comment to NGK. Coots, man. Let's go Braeden Cootes tonight at Rogers Arena. Man, oh man, if you like Coots, hit the like button, okay? Not only does it help me bring that energy, it helps us out a lot, growing the show, helping me feed my family. Man, oh man, I love each and every one of you for tuning in on the podcast side. You can also help us out with a 5-star review if you like what we're doing. That helps us out. You know, before we took over Locked On, this show was at like a 3. Yeah, it wasn't a popular show. And now we're up to about a 4.2, but a lot of the pods out there are 4.8, 4.9. So the 5-star review would help us out a lot. If I could give you a 5-star review, I would do it. I'm out of here, all right? I'm Trevor Beggs. That guy before was Kyle Bhawan. I'm going to go make love while watching the Vancouver Canucks. Kyle Bhawan, you dog, baby.
Your Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.